Hi guys, and welcome to A Beginner's Guide to SimCity, brought to you by bagofgames.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the basic concepts that you need to keep in mind while developing your city in SimCity. I'm taking into account that all of you have played the tutorial, as that is mandatory to be done, so I won't be covering the basics of how to play the game. I just want to give you guys some basic ideas in terms of where to place your zones, your facilities, etc., and have a nice and happy city. Okay, let's get started. So before we even do the first task, which has been presented to us, which says draw a road to the highway, you would want to gain some valuable knowledge about the region that you're in. To do so, you can click on the All Data Maps tool, bottom right corner of your screen, and let's start by checking the wind direction. As we can see, the wind is blowing to the top left of the screen. That's actually pretty advantageous for us, as the industrial zones will probably go there and residential zones around this area. Reason I say that is you don't want to place your industrial zones in a place where the pollution blows towards your residential areas. So always place your industrial zones where the wind blows away from the residential zones. And another good idea is to place your commercial zones in the middle of industrial and residential zones, so that that can act as a buffer to prevent the pollution from getting into your city. Okay, other thing you want to look at is the water table map. By clicking on that, we can see where the most abundant water sources are. So the dark blue areas are where you would want to place your water pumps. Okay, now that we've gained some knowledge about the region we're in, we can actually go ahead and start creating our city. So let's start with what I recommend is either using low density roads or dirt roads early on in the game, as these are cheap and you don't really have a lot of money to work with, so you've got a budget of 50,000 to start off. We can always upgrade these cities later. Okay, so let's start with the low density streets. I'm going to create a main avenue in my city going all the way down for about 5,000 worth budget. Okay, now that will serve as my main avenue that connects my highway to all my different zones, and you'll see now what I mean. You don't have to do it in this manner. You can place the roads as you like, wherever you like. You have complete freedom in that sense, as long as you keep the basics in mind, that have your industrial zones in an area where the pollution blows away. Okay, so let's do this. Start creating some zones. Okay, I'm just going to place a couple of these. While I'm placing these, I just want to mention that if you follow this guide, or just the basics that I'm going to be teaching you, most probably you will not be requiring to take out any sort of bonds in the game, as this guide generally covers healthy profit. So, and I want to expand this a little bit, and I'll explain why a bit later. Okay, so now that I've got the basic landscape of how I want my city to look, I can go ahead and start plotting the zones. To plot the zones, you can go to your zone tool and click the residential zone tool. You can generally just click and drag, but a quicker way to do this is to hold down the control key, and that covers the maximum area available, and then just click. Okay, I want to place the commercial zones maybe there. I'll keep this residential also, and then my industrial zones. Okay, as you can see, green represents residential zones, blue represents commercial, and yellow representing your industrial zones. As soon as you place these zones, Sims start populating your city. So give it a little bit of time, a couple of minutes, and you'll see your city will be up and running. But in the meantime, one thing we need to cover is provide the Sims with basic facilities such as electricity, water pumps, or water and sewage disposal dumps. Now, as discussed earlier, we want to place water in an area where there's a abundant water source. So when you click on the water tower, the map comes up automatically, and let's just place the water tower right there. Please note that when you do place your facilities on next to roads, they automatically start providing the service to the rest of the city. Okay, next thing we want to look at is preparing the wind power plant. I'm just going to extend that a little bit. Go into your electricity tab. You have access to the wind power plant as well as the coal power plant early on in the game, but the issue here is that the coal power plant is almost double the price, and I'd suggest going with the cheaper one because we don't have a lot of budget to work with. But also note that the cheaper power plant will keep your city up and running for a long time before you need to upgrade. Okay. Next thing we want to place is a sewage dump. We can also place that right there, as long as it's away from the city. The one thing to keep in mind is always place your water tower as far away from your industrial areas as possible, otherwise it gets polluted. However, that is not the case with the wind power plant and the sewage pipe. Those you can place in the same vicinity and it should be good. Okay, as you can see, the Sims have started moving into the city. There are certain houses. These are going to turn out to be shops, as this is in my commercial zone, and these are your factories that will turn up to be factories. Once the city is populated enough, you get the petition to build you get a petition approved to build a city hall. I suggest that you build that as soon as possible, because then you can upgrade your city. There's certain population thresholds which have to be met to upgrade your town hall. Then it becomes a city hall. As you can see, it's saying there's no power in my city, but that's only because nobody has started working there yet. So once the Sims have settled down, they'll go and find a job there, and then it should be okay. While we wait for the city to get up and running, I just want to mention I'm not going to be covering any sort of city specialization in this tutorial, as this is a beginner's guide. However, if you do want to cover that, there's the city specialization. If you want to have a look at it, there's a couple of different things that your city can specialize in, but I won't be covering that as that's out of my scope. The other thing to keep in mind is if you quickly want to have a look at how you're holding up in terms of your water supply or your electricity supply, etc., you can click on your tabs, and that tells me that I'm in the green. I've actually got access water. Same with the electricity. You can see I've got a lot of electricity, so I'm pretty safe. The other thing is that once your population gets stagnant or starts slowing down in terms of growth, you don't want to start placing residential zones all around, because as you can see, the area we're working with here is quite limited, and you don't want to end up in a situation where you start placing things all over the place and you no longer have control of the design of the city. The first thing to do would be more around upgrading your roads. To do that, you can come here, click road upgrade, and just click there. You can upgrade that to a medium density and then again to a high density street. What this allows is gives your Sims more room for growth. So now that this road supports more density, people can have more clusters and apartments on the side of the street because it's able to support that kind of traffic. So before you start looking for more areas in terms of placing your residential zones and industrial areas, I would suggest upgrading your roads, and then maybe looking further into upgrading your residential areas and the area coverage. Obviously, as this is a quick guide, I'm just showing you the basics. I'm not actually going to be expanding any further. As you can see, we're not doing bad. It's only -19, and that's only because the industrial area is still coming up. As soon as that area comes up, we'll go into the positive, and there we go. And now we've got the petition to build a gambling house. I really suggest that you don't build that early on in the game. And we also will get the petition to build the city hall now. Okay, there we go. We can build this town hall for free. I'll place it right there. Once you place the town hall, the Sims in your city obviously gain extra happiness because there's a town hall in the city. Okay, I just want to show you, if you click on the town hall, you can see the next upgrade is at 5,000 residents. Right now I only have 205, but that changes very quickly. just keep that in mind. Once you get to 5,000, upgrade your city hall, as that unlocks further attachments for your city hall and upgrades to your city. In terms of facilities such as fire, health, and police, not to worry about health and police so much early on in the game, as that's not going to be a problem because there's little pollution. Everybody's just started living here. That's not going to be such a big issue. Your main concern is going to be fires, so you can place a fire station and try to place it in a way where it sort of covers most of the city. Like that location in this case would be perfect, as it'll cover my industrial zones, commercial zones, as well as residential zones. One fire station with a couple of trucks early on in the game is generally sufficient, and that should get you by for a long time before fires get out of hand. You can also name your city, but I'm just going to leave it. Lastly, just a quick tip, I suggest speeding up the city development a little bit early on, because it affects the... Otherwise, it's just too slow early on in the game, so I'd suggest that you just speed it up. You don't have to go to the fastest speed, but keep it in this one, and it's pretty fast. Okay guys, thanks for watching. The idea was to just give you guys a basic overview of how to place your city, where what zones should be placed, how to avoid certain sort of pollution related matters later on. So I hope I've helped you out.